Hey everybody, it's Marlene Yvette, getting ready to go through some police records to show that I did report to police, Louisville PD, the issues and the suspicions and when my daughter was dropped off. I'm going to show that I did get a full records request from Louisville PD. They did fully comply and release that public information records request, so I do appreciate them in participating with the Texas Public Information Act, Chapter 552 of the Government Code, as well as Article 1, Section 8 of the Texas Constitution, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, the common law of the state of Texas, and any statute providing for public access to government information. Again, it said that ultimately their requests, they're complying with all of those things, and so I do appreciate Louisville PD, unlike some counties, such as Collin, that provide so much red tape. I do appreciate Louisville PD for just simply complying with the request. So this was the request. I actually made it on 3/16/16. Again, I was not planning to do this, but I was actually there handling a traffic ticket that is in dispute and set for jury trial in July. But ultimately, I was there and the Holy Spirit prompted me to go ahead and do a records request just to see what Louisville had. My children and I have been staying there since November of 2015. They're at the Budget Suites. You'll see the sign. It says residences, not hotel, in a 2-bedroom suite that has a full kitchen, full living room, full bathroom, and 2 fully furnished bedrooms. Myself, my daughter Mariah, my son Joshua. Part of that time, our son Isaiah was staying there with us, and then, of course, my son Jonathan part-time stays there with us. So ultimately, again, there's lots of other children. Buses actually pick up and drop off a plethora of children that live there with their families. Some families that have ordered DirecTV and satellite, and ultimately, these are not hotels. They're more like homes, just for people that may have challenges due to maybe rental history, credit history, or other issues that can't get places, or maybe they have a temporary need. Maybe they're in town temporarily for a reason or whatever the case may be, but ultimately there are people that live in these residences that also have signed leases, where literally we're referred to as tenants, where literally you have to be evicted if you're there over 30 days. So it's a very different situation than a hotel, even though her father is going to try to paint that as the reason why he needs to have his daughter exposed to drug dealing, physical, emotional, verbal, and sexual abuse, as well as physical neglect. Doesn't really meet the muster of what most people would consider the best interest of a child, unless they're just focused on material things and just simply the housing of a child. But ultimately, children need love, they need protection. And so anyways, we've been there since November of 2015. I have been able to provide for Mariah's care through a 38-week, 55 medical appointment, high-risk pregnancy, simply because of history that I had when I was 18, which was a blood clot, gestational blood clot, when I was 18, almost 20 years ago. Again, haven't been under any treatment for it, but I complied with every single prenatal visit. She came out healthy and well. She has continued to thrive as I've taken her to the hospital, the doctor. At some point, she was going to our Children's House Baylor because she was still nursing and not wanting to eat food or not able to eat food, and had demonstrated some signs to them when they evaluated her on October 22nd of 2015 that indicated she might need additional feeding treatment. So again, I've continued to prove that Mariah is safe, healthy, well, and thriving when with her mother and her brothers. No issues like what we've been discussing and what I've been releasing. And so ultimately I wanted to go ahead and see what information Louisville PD had with regards to me and or Corey Johnson, and or regards to our daughter. So the Holy Spirit prompted me on 3/16 to go ahead and do that records request release, not knowing that I was going to need it for a time such as this, but thankful that I have it. So now that I've set this up to explain what's going on, I did that request at 10:52 a.m., Louisville, Texas. Again, my old email address, ourfreedom2015@yahoo.com. And it says, please list the records that you are requesting. List specific dates if possible. If this is not possible, please list the beginning and ending dates. And so what I requested was any calls from me, Marlena Yvette, to 2715 South Highway 121, Louisville, Texas, 75067. Then I said number 2, any calls or reports made about me by Corey Johnson. I put his birthday there at 6/14/76. Number 3 was any reports made by me about Corey Obafemi Johnson. And then number 4 was any calls from 972-781-8990 cell phone. So I put all of that on there. At that time, it was actually processed by someone there, and it shows very lightly received March 16th, 2015, and there's initials there. So I'm going to flip the book. This is the same book. I've been going over medical records from Inwood Village Pediatrics, my daughter's doctor's office, as well as Children's Medical Center Plano. They're on Legacy. It was Pat, actually, those are the initials, that said the city attorney has 10 business days to provide reports. So I don't even think I had to wait that long, but March 24th, I got an email from Public Records Request from Louisville Support, Louisville, Texas, at mycusthelp.com, mycusthelp.com, to our Freedom 2015 at yahoo.com. And this was on Thursday, March 24th, 2016 at 4:35 p.m. Okay, it says they fulfilled that request. Regarding Marlena Yvette and Curry Johnson, it says the following records have been uploaded. And now it shows they actually have report numbers, CAD report number here, 151111061, and it goes on and on and on. So it shows the various different CAD report numbers. So I want to go ahead and point out, here's one, here's two, here's a third one, here's a fourth one, here's a fifth one, there's a sixth one, and then it says finally also incident report. It says you will need to log into your customer account to view and download the documents. And it says to monitor the progress or update this request, please log into the Public Information Center. I'm going to go down this sheet, and it's just showing this came from my mail, yahoo.com neo launch. Okay, and the date on this, 3/28/2016, when I finally actually printed this out. Now, the Louisville request update was another email that I was given. It says P013449-032416. Again, it says Louisville Support, Louisville, Texas, at mycusthelp.com. Our Freedom 2015 at yahoo.com, Thursday, March 24th, 2016, 4:36 p.m. And it says, hi, Marlena, we've completed working on the request detailed below. Again, it shows a reference number, a request type, a create date, 3/24/2016, 8:07 a.m. Okay, thank you. It says City of Louisville for using our Citizens Support Center. Again, I'm going to go down the page here. It's just showing, sorry, moving too fast. And then again, show the date here, 3/28/2016. Okay, now there was problems with the portal, and so I had to actually get a hold of Kathy Hageman, I believe. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. But Kathy Hageman, very nice lady, very respectful. As you can see here, records request, she actually had to send it to me. I'm going to try to take it out of the slick because it's so shiny and hard to see. Here we go. Kathy Hageman. Shows her email address. Gosh, this is so hard to see. KHAGEMAN at cityoflouisville.com. It shows that she sent this to me Monday, March 28th, 2016 at 3:49 p.m. She sent me 2 files. Okay. CAD reports PDF. There's 6 of them. And then it shows incident report 15-13695 PDF. So again, it's just showing 2 files. The 6 PDFs here with the CAD reports, and the 1 incident report, which is what we just read. And it says, Marlena, here are the records that were uploaded. Kathy, disclaimer. City of Louisville. Okay. And so again, this is coming from the Louisville City Attorney's Office. Again, going down the page here, and again showing that this was printed out here at 3/28/2016. It says page 1 of 1, so there's nothing else that she sent me. And now I'm going to turn the page, again still in the same book with all my records. This was originally the first form I was given, which was the local records check. And then they were advised that this was only for people that had been arrested or had criminal history in Louisville. Of course, I don't have any criminal history. in Louisville or anywhere else, besides some bogus charges that were placed on me way back in 2004, I believe, by my first ex-husband. The same week his child support was raised. His ex-wife at the time worked for Sprint Security, knew police enforcement there, and they continued to make bogus allegations against me. And so I was once arrested in Collin County for that. It will say harassment, probably electronic communication. I don't even know if that shows up at all at this point, but ultimately that was appropriately dismissed. There was no evidence. The only thing that happened after that hearing was he sent me an email that said "was up." It was a little bumblebee when they used to have those little email cards that you open up and click on and they start to dance and different things like that. He had sent that to me, and I opened it up, and at that time, he's making allegations. He's upset about child support, and of course he's served time for domestic violence, violating a protective order that Collin County also arrested him for in 2015. It was actually Frisco PD that moved forward with that. I did not want to press charges. He was my husband at the time. He was getting out of the military, about to get a job at Plano DPS. I didn't want it to destroy his record and his ability to still be in our children's lives and provide for them. But unfortunately, when I called for assistance from Frisco Police Department there back in 2000, they made the decision to go ahead and move forward with charging him with the felony violation of protective order as well as assault charges. I was then notified 2 weeks later that they were moving forward with charges, and I just simply had to cooperate with the process. I do actually see, again, as I made video before, and I thank the people that were in Allen, McKinney, Plano, and now we're talking about Frisco Police Department that did do the right thing. So many times as domestic violence victims, we're still in love with, still bonded to, blaming ourselves, still going through all the psychological and emotional ups and downs and backs and forths with our abusers. And the reality is, unfortunately, it does transfer to the children. They get the exposure and either become women that wind up getting into abusive relationships and or becoming abusive themselves, because that's what they learn is appropriate, and or they become male sons and or older male adults that are abusing their girlfriends, their wives. And a lot of times, a lot of women don't speak out about this. A lot of times children can even become abusive to their mothers for a period of time because, again, they've taken on the abuser's distorted view of their mom. These children can also, as victims themselves, victims of the exposure, which is why CPS does remove children from domestically abusive homes, because, again, you're hurting the children. They're being made to live in a war zone they don't deserve to live in. So I do actually appreciate that decision on behalf of Frisco Police Department and Collin County District Attorney's Office back in 2000 to move forward with his arrest, even though it was one of the worst days of my life, even though I cried at the hearing when they sentenced him. Ultimately, it was the right decision. It still took me literally over 15 years to get to the place where I understood I needed to break the cycle. I will say all the exes that I've had, they have great qualities, great sides of them. They also have not great qualities about them, as does just about everybody. And so none of us are perfect, no need for us to be, but at some point in time, somebody does have to stand up and say, we're not going to continue the abuse cycle, and that's what I've been fighting in the past 3 years in Collin County. And so again, this is not to say that Collin County is completely corrupt. There are no honest law enforcement, judges, child protective service workers. Again, I've got an extensive history dealing with child protective services, always cooperatively, never having any issues or concerns with me directly. Again, unfortunately, due to ex-husbands and other situations that I've had to just cooperate with the investigations. Again, always cleared, always cooperative. And so I also believe that there's balance and two sides to every coin. I have a moving forward video on YouTube that discusses and talks about this, even though I've endured great corruption. Again, it only takes a few bad apples to spoil the bunch. And so unfortunately, when we allow those people to continue not accountable and unchecked, it can make the entire system really bad for a lot of people. And so ultimately, I realized I didn't need this form because, bottom line, again, I don't have a criminal record. I actually have a Texas concealed handgun license where you have to go through very extensive background checking to get that. I got that in 2011, still current and held today. Never have had to use or discharge my weapon, and I don't want to be in a position where I have to. Again, if police do their job, when domestic violence victims do say, I'm getting away from it, I don't want it to materialize to the day where he's threatening to shoot me and I have to exercise self-defense. I don't even want to be in that position when law enforcement does their job, when the family court judges do their job, when child protective services do their job, women as well as men. The little girl that was just beat, it was done by a mother. So again, I also don't believe that domestic violence is just a woman's issue, where they're just the victims and men are the perpetrators. A lot of the abuse that I've suffered over the past 3 years has been at the hands of two female attorneys, Rochelle Fetty, Brooke Folks, very, very abusive, unethical attorneys. The current judge that has placed the orders for the writ for my baby girl's body and the warrant for my arrest for failing to appear while I was dealing with the accident that we were in on the way to her court. She's a female. Unfortunately, the concerns with the assault against my son, and then also with regards to abuse that I was advised by the family. So this is Corey Johnson's brother and sister-in-law with regards to their mother, Norma Taylor of Dallas, Texas, where apparently at 11 years old, she beat him up so bad because he got an F on her report card. She broke his arm and locked him in a closet. He ran away from home. And so again, it was family members. I wasn't expecting to get the detail in the history that there's certain families that that's just how they handle discipline. And now in 2016, we've learned that it's not reasonable discipline. It is abuse. It's not allowed. It's not tolerated. And yes, people will lose their children legitimately for that. I thank God for Child Protective Services that legitimately gets children out of war zones they don't deserve to be in. If they don't want to be beat by someone that is 2-3 times their size, they should not beat children. Now, for all the Christians that are saying it's biblical for discipline, spare the rod, spoil the child. Again, I was a mother that raised 5 sons. We spanked. With both of my ex-husbands, we spanked, but we never abused. I never abused. And ultimately, there's a difference. When you are so angry that you may lose control, you wait to physically reprimand your children, or you don't take action, because then you can do things you regret. And if you do things that you later regret and have reason to regret, then you need to get help for your proper emotional, physical, and parental control or grandparental control to find ways to teach them how to handle conflict and discipline and resolution of difficult situations without escalating to the point where people are being injured. Now, there are 50 to 75% of you that possibly disagree with me right now. A lot of you are from the old school, where we taught people respect. No, what you did was you scared them into silence and proper behavior, so that when they started dating or when they got into positions of power, now they can pound on people like you pounded on them. Again, do the research. We have learned that we are not better off as a society, that every time a child does something wrong, we smack them and displace. That is abuse, and I'm thankful that Child Protective Services does get engaged when that type of behavior is going on. You should always have proper emotional control, proper physical control of yourself before engaging in any type of physical discipline. And ultimately, my son's grandmother, she now is not, prohibiting him from getting food. She is now not physically hurting him. She has not since that incident in 2014, 6 days before my baby girl was to be born. And so I'm thankful for that. That issue has been cleared up. I'm going to release all the evidence as to how Collin County actually issued a temporary restraining order against me to keep me from my son, to keep me from his school, because I was fighting for his safety when all that went on. But ultimately, his father also got to the point where he began to understand and also limit physical abuse and injury that was occurring with my son in 2015 there in Allen Independent School District. That's a whole other story. Can't get into all of it right now. But again, was just covering the explanation of what that document was. The fact that I do not have any criminal history. If you check the Collin County website, the only criminal history that you'll see was failure to have a child in a car seat. I was in an accident back in, I want to say 2013. I had bought a new vehicle from a major dealership. The brakes failed. I wound up slamming into another vehicle there in Princeton, actually on 380. I don't know if it was considered McKinney. It's right there by the racetrack and Airport Freeway Drive, something along those lines. And so anyways, at that time, I was taking my son Jonathan to school in Allen. He was in a regular seatbelt, which did protect him in the accident. I was pretty banged up, but it protected him adequately. But I did not know that there was a law that said based on his height, I think he was a few inches too short, he still should have been in a child restraint. And so that's what that charge was for. Thanks to Prepaid Legal Services, they fought that very, very hard. And ultimately, that was dismissed. So again, no criminal history. That's what that form was about. Now what you're looking at and staring at is a CAD operations report. And I'm sharing all this not because I believe that I'm not going to make it out of this alive. Again, the way that God continues to keep sending people every step of the way to assist and help my baby girl as we're on the road, it has been nothing short of a miracle, nothing short of having to admit that obviously God is in control. Truth Judge Jesus is maneuvering this entire operation, but I am getting opportunities as I think about stuff to go ahead and talk about it and to give my explanation and the truth about the different circumstances, because we also know when people stand up to try to fight government corruption, all of a sudden we start trying to pick up dirt, and we all start trying to find things that ultimately have nothing to do with the price of tea in China. They have no relevance to the issues that we're dealing with at this time, and so this may be my only opportunity to share those things, and so that's why I'm doing it as it comes about in various different discussions. So you're going to look at CAD operations report. We're going to get back on track now. Page 1 of 2. This is one of the reports that was taken. This is the incident report. Now, if you'll look here, and this is where I am really kind of disappointed in how much Collin and Denton County worked together, it appears, in this situation, is I actually had made a report as I was living in Louisville of the various different codes you can see there that have to deal with terroristic threat, online impersonation, and harassment. Okay? The date of this report was on 12/9/2015. Okay? It says that it was an initial report. It said that it was unfounded, and it was also never investigated. Never got one phone call. Matter of fact, I actually called in, and of course the offender shows here as Curry Obafemi Johnson. It says bias and motivation. They have here none, no bias for either charge 1, 2, or 3. Location of the offense, residence. This was pertaining to emails that he was continuing to send in harassing manners, knowing our daughter was well. I want you to know that this here actually does have, so I'm going to take it out. It actually has 6 pages. You'll see pages 6 of 6. This was actually done by Officer Hutchins, number 3552. We actually met for about 6 hours, but then there's another page here. I want to go through all of them. Page 5 of 6. You can also see what this page looks like. Again, incident report number 1513695. What I actually detail and outline, and perhaps this is where they didn't intervene, was the judicial corruption that I was facing in Collin County. And a lot of times, again, just like law enforcement officers stick together, judges stick together, I was explaining in detail the corruption I'd been facing, because when you're talking about harassment, what they're looking for before you can really have penal code elements to meet harassment is a pattern of emails and behaviors and things of that nature, and that just did not exist. Going back to the email where I got the harassment charge, I simply had opened that email and said, why are you sending me cards? You know, you're alleging that I'm harassing you. Does your wife know that you're talking to me? And that was actually the only communication that I sent him. And so again, once they realized there was actually no evidence behind the charge, they got someone there in the Killeen Police Department to go along with her connection and their foolishness. Of course, again, I was cleared of those harassment charges because it was bogus. However, again, I'm just showing you the existence of this report, page 3 of 6. I'm going to show you page 2 of 6. And again, I get it. What I was referencing with my situation in Collin County and telling them about my judicial corruption, where I was not getting justice in Collin, was simply to say that, has harassment ever been reported before by Curry Obafemi Johnson to me? Yes, it had. It had been reported to McKinney PD. It had been reported to Plano PD. But again, they weren't taking action because I'm dealing with all of the judicial corruption. So that's the 6 pages of that. And then I guess there's another incident report, persons involved, Louisville PD, suspect Curry Obafemi Johnson. Again, intimidation, now it says. All other offenses. Shows that he works for Peterbilt there in Denton. Offenses involved with Norma Taylor Johnson. They're at Rusttown and Dallas. And then it goes through, and I'm actually going to the incident report. I'm going to go ahead and read. Terroristic threat, intimidation, online impersonation, persona, create page, all other offenses. And so one of the other things, I'm going to go ahead and go to the reporting officer, Shaniqua Hutchins, 352. Then it looks like reporting officer, Casey Carter. Approving supervisor, Scott Haynes. It looks like the below officers are 288-305. I've never met these officers. I've never spoken with them. Again, I was never contacted for an investigation. I told them I was facing judicial and police corruption in Collin County, and I guess they just chose to follow suit and not investigate. So I am frustrated with that about Louisville PD, but I'm also not looking to take on any more police departments. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to go ahead and read, sorry. You know, actually I'm not going to read it. I'm going to show you a copy of it. And this is saying, victim is being threatened by her child's father. Again, same incident report number. Louisville Police. Incident report number here. Same. Report date 12/10/2015, 9:07. I'm assuming this is the time they actually did the narrative, and so I am actually going to go ahead and read it. So it says Louisville Police Department. Same incident report number. Same incident number. Report date, same time. It says on 12/9/2015, I, Officer S. Hutchins, was dispatched to the police department lobby on an information call. I advised Marlena Yvette wanted to speak with an officer about a private matter. I'm going to go ahead and go through this because it's going to be really hard for me to, and it's probably really hard to look at the screen right now with me jumping all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and go over it really quickly, and then I'm going to read it, just so you all can see the words that are here. This is saying when I originally spoke with Sergeant Dickens. Now this is important because I also emailed Sergeant Dickens the morning of Thursday, April 1st, and asked him to call the Denton County Constable's office and let them know that I was seeking another hearing and ability to take care of the warrant. Again, I referenced the Collin County corruption against me and that I had spoken with him personally before, because I did when I came to make the report that day. He was the officer that I spoke with, and so I actually have his card because he gave it to me. I'll actually try to pull that out here in a minute. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just read what's here. On 12/8/2015, I, Officer Hutchins, was dispatched to the police department lobby on an information call. I advised Marlena Yvette wanted to speak with an officer about a private matter. On arrival, Yvette was writing a statement. She had originally spoken with Sergeant Dickens and told him that she has been having an issue with her youngest child's father. She had tried to file reports against him while she was living in Collin County, but had not gotten help from the officers or detectives at McKinney PD, Plano, or Allen PD. She was taken to an interview room so she could speak freely. She advised that she met Corey Obafim Johnson in 2010. While they dated, she found out that he was a drug dealer. She stated that he is also an employer with Peterbilt in the IT department. She